Welcome to Wavelengths, a podcast with Amphenol Broadband Solutions.
What's going on, everyone? It's Daniel Litwin, the voice of B2B, and welcome to another episode of Wavelengths on Amphenol Broadband Solutions podcast. It's good to be back in the hot seat, folks. We're talking shop on everything broadband, everything connectivity. Per usual, we're here with the top thought leadership from the industry, breaking down major trends, technologies, market movers, timely topics, you name it, from the world of broadband and beyond. As we are digging into today's episode, which is a follow-up from one of our previous episodes, more context here in a second, make sure that you're subscribing to our podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and make sure you're checking out all of our previous episodes and learning more about Amphenol Broadband Solutions, our services, our solutions, and all of our various podcast conversations, all on our website at amphenolbroadband.com. Again, amphenolbroadband.com. All right, team, let's dive into today's episode. It's going to be a good one. So, on a previous episode of the show, we did a deep dive on the European market for broadband, right? On fiber as a technology, as a market, and as a trend across Europe. We started unpacking the transformation that's happening across the European broadband market, which is that push toward fiber, the importance of standards, the challenge of resilience in the market, and the complexity of building next generation networks across very different national markets, right? So today, we're going to be picking up that conversation where we left things off, but with a wider lens and with a new voice on the episode as well. So because Europe's broadband future is not just a fiber story, it's important that we have this follow-up, right? Europe's broadband future is a story about what happens when political ambition meets economic pressure. It's a story about operators being pushed toward gigabit connectivity while still managing legacy copper, coax, hybrid architectures, supply chain constraints, labor shortages, you name it, it's a mixed bag, right? And there's a growing pressure across Europe to build networks that are not just fast, but resilient, secure, and sustainable over the long term, right? Long-term investments here into sustainable infrastructure. And that's really the heart of the episode today. Europe may be clear on the destination, but the path there is far from simple, and there's a lot to figure out and come to the table on, and that's why we're here. So I'm looking forward to today's breakdown, right? We're going to be looking at the real state of European broadband, where the market is accelerating, where it's stalling, what hybrid network reality really means for operators, and how questions around standards, interoperability, life cycle, cybersecurity, and vendor strategy are starting to matter now more than ever. So I'd like to welcome our two guests who are going to give us some strong visibility into the European broadband landscape from different vantage points. We've got one returning guest for part two and a newcomer here to Wavelengths. So returning to the podcast is Carsten Engelke. He is Director of Technology at ANGA with deep perspective on the broader conversations that are shaping operators, vendors, and policymakers across Europe. Carsten, welcome back. How you doing?
Hey, thank you. I'm fine. It's great that you're having me again here in your podcast. I'm very happy to support you. It was an amazing experience, our first podcast. It was really great, and it was great fun. And I give the great fun to my good friend Anthony, and I said, well, you're missing something if you're not attending.
I love it. Hey, we're all motivated by a little FOMO, fear of missing out, right? So now we've got him here. And now let's introduce our second guest too. Welcoming here to the podcast for the first time is Dr. Anthony Basham. He is VP of Active Products for the EMEA region at Netceed. He's also the president of SCTE. Dr. Basham, welcome. How you doing?
Hey, Daniel, thanks. Oh, it's great to be here. And yeah, that fear of missing out, that was really hard. Carsten really pitched that one on me. And I found it so difficult to just say, oh, yeah, of course, let's do this. Let's talk about how Europe's broadband reality is changing and how things are evolving. It's the best place to be right now. Let's face it.
I love to hear the optimism. We're going to get into the weeds and get a better sense for, again, the reality, what's shaping the market today. So thank you again to the two of you. And without further ado, audience, let's dig into the meat of the episode. So let's start here. I've got a question for each of y'all, and then we're going to open it up to more free-form discussion. So Carsten, I'm going to start with you as our returning guest. When you look at the European broadband market right now, does it feel like Europe is still in a build phase, right? Or has it become more of an execution consolidation phase for some of its broadband rollout, some of its fiber rollout? Give us your high-level assessment here.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel, for the good question. It's not an easy one. I will say from the technology point of view, we are building the networks, and we are on a good track, and we did a good way forward with the policymakers from the European Commission that we bring fiber optic networks in place in Europe. The point is, it's really hard for us to explain to our customers that this is a real hot topic and you have to jump in. That is a problem from the complete market in across Europe, and it's really hard to motivate all the customers to change from their existing network to a new one. Hopefully, Anthony, you see it in the same way.
Looking through Europe, I mean, you've got the big builds that have happened. You're looking at the UK, you're looking at France, Denmark, the Nordics. They're all big builds. Eastern Europe is nearly finished. But now we're looking at the next phase of their builds. So they've gone to 100 meg. Now they need to go to the gigabit, as you just said. But you're also looking at how things are changing. We don't want to build a network that's only going to last 10 years. This has to be a sustainable network. And this is where we go into the areas of circularity. How do we make sure this network exists in the next 70 years? Because let's face it, the copper network has existed 60 years. It's still working. We're all there going, let's keep using it. Let's keep pushing on it. The more that exists, the better it is for us. And we've got to also pay attention to making sure that everybody can be a part of this. Technology is not defining it. The technology is there. Now it's getting it out, digging the holes, putting the fiber in there, and attaching. This is where we're sort of missing that last bit, making sure the policies are there. I mean, at the end of the day, governments decide where the fiber is going to go. That's sort of how they say, we'll give you money if you do it there. Or here's the money, make it happen. It's a good business case. But we're not encapsulating everyone. This gigabit thing is going to be so difficult to get out everywhere. I mean, Switzerland in the mountains, how do you get signal up there? Norway, middle of a field, nothing there at all. How do you get anything there? This is going to be where we sort of define, are we gigabits or are we still nearly there?
So, Anthony, follow-up question for you. From your vantage point, because you get to see, various projects and you get a lot of context, both in the UK, but also in the Nordics, across broader Europe. Does the European market at large right now, does it feel like one broadband market moving in one kind of unified direction, or are we seeing several very different broadband stories happening all at once? What's your pulse check on, I guess, those narratives?
I mean, I'm going to be really callous here. The short answer is no.
Yeah.
The European fiber market does not run in one direction. It's moving in several parallel directions all at the same time. This is why the defining thing with European fiber, the European fiber market is not linear. If you take it from the industry standpoint, fiber market doesn't move in one unified direction. It's evolving along multiple tracks simultaneously, different countries, different operators, different business models. They're all progressing at different speeds. I mean, I'm sure Carsten would like to come into what it looks like in Germany. And this is one of the speeds we're looking at. And they're all not using different technologies, but different ways of doing it. If this was a centralized market, it'd be a lot easier. But Europe's made up of dozens of regulatory regimes, infrastructure legacies, and investment models. This creates that landscape where fiber deployment is happening broadly everywhere, but the path towards it is varied. Let's go into a little bit of that. Legacy infrastructures. We have DOCSIS, we have twisted pair, we have copper. We've got EPON, GPON, XGS-PON, PDS cabling. All of this has a factor, and it's still there. It'd be a lot easier if you said one day, coax cable just doesn't work anymore. You'd have to find a solution. That's not how it is. Coax cable works, functions, and will continue to function. So this is not an old to new transition. It's a long-term coexistence of technologies. And this is what's sort of taking the time out of it. If I just look at the Nordics, we're looking at the Nordics, we're nearly finished, 89% covered with fiber, but only 40% plus take up, because coax is still working, telephones are still working, mobile Wi-Fi is still working, fixed wireless access works. This is taking it away from us now. So I think we need to look into sort of the economics, what's driving it, consolidation, partnerships. And as I said earlier, technologies is now not the limiting factor. The direction is clear. I mean, we know where we have to get to, but the path is not. So we know where the goal is. We just need to find out how we're going to get there. A long-winded explanation to a pretty short question.
It's good. I mean, hey, I was expecting a complex, layered answer, so that's good. So let's get to the next question now, and I want to open this up more for some dialogue between the two of y'all. But I want to talk shop on this core tension that shapes a lot of market development. This is not unique to Europe, but it is pretty definitional for the current state of broadband rollout in Europe. And that would be ambition versus reality, right? What we would like to see versus the general technological, supply, political constraints, you name it, right? So again, one of the biggest themes here is this tension between maybe political ambition or industry ambition and then commercial reality. At this point, what would y'all say is driving broadband's transition the most right now? Is policy driving most of the action and change? Is it market forces? Is it technology? Is it bottom-up pressure and expectations from consumers? What do you think is winning out here? I imagine the answer is a little bit of everything, right? But if you had to play ball a little bit and pick one that you think maybe has a little bit more muscle in the game, what comes to mind?
Yeah, I think it's a good point, and you made a good analysis on this, Daniel. Thank you so much. Everyone is involved. I will say we need broadband. We need stable connections, and I'm sure that fiber optic is a very good connection. It's an easy one. It's from the technology point of view a good one, very stable, and you have no interference from other services like we had in coaxial networks or in mobile networks. Yeah, you see it. You can disturb the frequencies, and fiber optics. It's a pretty good one, stable. And the point or the answers a little bit in the points Anthony said before. Yeah, it's hard for suppliers like Amphenol to provide our European market with one product for everyone. One size fits all. Yeah, that's a little bit missing.
One size never fits all. I mean, but looking at this one, Carsten, if we look at it, we have that political ambition to get to 1 gig. Everybody has to be on 1 gig. But then you're also talking about the commercial reality of this. If we look at the commercial reality, fiber infrastructure is now a strategic priority. We have to have it. Governments are looking at high-speed connectivity. It's essential for economic competitiveness, digital inclusion, national resilience. We've all heard these words, but it's not forcing it to go quicker. How do you get it quicker? Policies, funding programs, regulatory frameworks, they're designed to accelerate it, but it hasn't pushed it to acceleration. I mentioned earlier sort of Germany. If we look through Germany, what's the fiber development like there? And why is that stalling? That's a subject totally for itself. But this is also something. If governments just said, go out and build, no one would do it anyway. There has to be something to pull it. So the tension between the policymakers, what they want to achieve, what the market can realistically deliver. I mean, what does the market need? We need high-speed internet, given. Everybody's using internet. But do you need 1 gig? Do you need 10 gig, 100, 50, 100, 200, 300? Where do we stop? Then we look at the speed of deployment. There's quite a few holes that need to be dug and quite a bit of fiber that needs to go into areas. And I'm focusing a little bit on Germany. For me, Germany needs to come up to speed now. It's one of those areas in Europe that is a little bit behind. And it's not because of reasons that it just can't be done. There's been things that have stopped it. And now we need to take that away. How do we make this work? And coming back to it, what is the problem? Why can't everybody just have fiber? It takes its time to deliver. Coax took 60 years to get to where we are now. I hope fiber doesn't take 60 years.
You're absolutely right, Anthony. I think we talked in the podcast before. What is the killer application? We have to explain to him why we need 1 gig up and downstream. Yeah, which services are available right now. People is happy with all the apps and small gimmicks on a smartphone. Yeah, but there is no demand to have more. We have no limitation. Streaming services running quite well in our networks. And when we look back to the pandemic 5 years ago, there was a question, is there a limitation in the existing networks for streaming services? Do we have to reduce the bandwidth of some streaming services? And there was no demand, and everyone were at home and used streaming services, home working, Teams calls.
That's where we pressure tested. That's where we pressure tested the networks. COVID-19 made us pressure test these networks. And this is also where we've seen the possibility to get more into it. And if you look at technology is evolving quickly as well now. Fiber access technologies, network virtualization, automation, new operational models, they're constantly emerging. But this innovation is beneficial, but it also is creating that uncertainty. The longer you wait with something, I mentioned earlier, 100 meg, 1 gig, 10 gig. When do you jump into the race and start the race? And this is where fiber actually helps us, the same way coax has done. If you like coax, we started with just putting some television over it. We started with Land City proprietary internet, then went to DOCSIS, DOCSIS 1, DOCSIS 2, DOCSIS 3, hopefully DOCSIS 4, and DOCSIS 5. That will continue to keep the coax going. But there's also, when do you jump into this race? How quickly do you get on board? Are you going to wait? And if you look now, you'll see operators, they're deciding when to deploy. Do I wait for the next generation? Do I sweat my assets and wait, get more money through it, make sure it's working? They've got to balance the future-proofing with the need to generate revenue today. And some of the investors at the moment, they're looking at going, where's the return? Look at how much money I've put into this. It takes a lot to build a fiber network. But when's it going to come out? Where do I get my money back? I mean, investors, it's in the name. They invest for a reason. And this is where Europe it's not lagged behind. I think it's just found it difficult to find one common way forward. We found it, Gigabit, but we're not getting there as quickly as I'd like to. And I'm sure the people on the mountains anywhere that don't have a gigabit or even 100 meg are also there.
Yeah, it's you're right, Anthony. When it's the right time to jump on board, that's an important topic. It's not that we have a race of more bandwidth. Yeah, if you have 1 gig, fine. Do you need 100 gig at home? I don't see any application which forces me to have 100 gig. It's not the game for the marketing guys to have more bandwidth. Yeah, we both started with 64 kilobits per second. Yeah, with the ISDN broadband service. That was a normal in the US. It was 56. It's the E1 and T1.
56K, then 128. And
exactly.
Yep.
The point is that we have, and this is a task for operators, for policymakers, and for the industry to bring the customer on board. And then we solve the question, when is the right time for investors to jump on board? The right time is when our customers will join our race for fiber optic. That's the important thing we have to take into account. Yeah.
I still think the European broadband market is still searching for that equilibrium. It's still looking, the fiber rollout's progressing rapidly, but the ecosystem of regulators, operators, suppliers, and the professional organizations, they have to continuously adjust, tweak along the way, balance the policy, balance the goals, economic realities, the technological possibilities and what's happening in Europe at the moment. But these are where the sort of, being honest, you've got it in the background. This is where ANGA and collaboration across the sector provides this forum to actually go in and address these tensions and shape the next phase of the broadband development. And it's still in phases. The direction's clear. Europe's moving towards fiber-based connectivity. The real question is not if the future will arrive, but how the industry manages the tensions along the way. Daniel alluded to it earlier, the tensions. These need to be managed.
Yeah, I think you mentioned the right points. I said before, the podcast before, that I'm personally missing the interoperability we had in DOCSIS. There was one regime that say we make interop tests, and when we have on the industry side for building networks, level 4 and level 3 networks, that we can use the same products, the same equipment there, then is the development of cheap network elements on a good track. And this is a little bit missing. Everybody comes from the sideway and saying, I can do 25, 50, 100, 400 gig, whatever. Yeah, and it's not that we need 400 gig. It's more that we need equipment which can be used by everyone across the European countries. I think it's the same in the US, that you use in New York City the same equipment like in San Diego or San Francisco, whatever. Yeah, when you move from one place to another place, and Anthony, you did it in the past very often, you like to bring your own equipment, your own home routing equipment, your Wi-Fi passwords with you in your new home. If you have a family, if you have kids, make a try to change the Wi-Fi password. It's a nightmare.
Never change your Wi-Fi password.
Yeah, they're staying behind you and saying, hey, please help my friends to join our Wi-Fi network. Yeah, and therefore I think it's good when we have on the CPE equipment. I think the CPE equipment is one of the most important equipment we have here in the fiber optic game, because this is a face to the customer. Yeah.
Daniel opened it earlier and he used one of the words that's sort of taboo wherever I am, that's interoperability. How do you get interoperability through Europe? How do you get interoperability with OLTs to ONUs? It's one of those areas that is difficult because everybody wants their strategic strength, their unique USP, my USP is my ONU only works with this and it only works with that. It's a way of capturing the market and ensuring revenue. I mean, let's face it, no one wants to develop something that everybody can copy or just use. So, I mean, yeah, CPEs, DOCSIS had the same problem at the start. There wasn't one interoperability. It was many interoperabilities. I think even DOCSIS had the jump on this because it wasn't twisted pair or just plain old telephone. It had some more to it. But now we're working with a new reality of DOCSIS, PON, legacy copper. Got to talk about the copper switch off at some point as well. This is a mixed environment again. That makes operational complexity higher. The places higher demand on standards, interoperability, and of course workforce competencies. Our workforce is having to adapt. We're really pushing things to the limit now. Everybody has to adapt, but we also want the gigabit tomorrow.
So you guys have laid out quite a bit there, and this is good. No, it's good. You kind of anticipated several of my follow-up questions. So I want to expand on where we've landed here, which is this hybrid environment, right? We talk a lot about Europe's fiber future, but the present still looks very hybridized, like you were saying. FTTH, DOCSIS, legacy copper, new fiber being rolled out. So, with that reality of a hybrid environment and all the pressures that come with it, including workforce pressures, um, interoperability pressures, how should the industry maneuver this hybrid environment without getting lost in it, right? The goal is still the same. We need to roll out high-speed fiber. And this needs to be long-term sustainable infrastructure. But we still have to keep the legacy systems rolling, and we have to have an ecosystem that can manage those. So what are y'all's thoughts on how this larger industry across Europe should approach this environment to not get lost in the swamp of hybridization and keep the North Star clear?
I mean, you hit the North Star. We need that gigabit. We need a fiber nation. We need to get there at some point. But it's also, you still have to maintain that legacy. And now it's divided up. So I can see a lot of companies now going into a two structure where they have their legacy that just runs on the side and this massive build, the push forward. Because they are in two different worlds. Where do you put your money? Do you put your money into the legacy that's still working and providing, sweating the assets, horrible thing to do. But again, that's where the revenue is. Or do you start going into this big push? I think a lot of this through Europe has been difficult because there's different areas that have started building. I mean, if we looked, just going back 5-10 years, there's probably 130, 140 different altnets just in the UK. That's not sustainable, having local altnets. But it is sustainable if you could connect all of these. Same way we actually did with coax. Coax to coax works really well. Fiber to fiber has to work on the same areas. But I can see there's areas that need to be done, need to be built. And it's getting, which way do we want to go and how quickly do we need to get there? Is the framework there to help us? If we get more tighter economic and regulatory constraints, this will probably stop us. But you also need regulatory to push us forward. I mean, we said it earlier. I think these hybrid networks are going to persist. And I say persist because it would be nice to sort of get them away for years because you need this multiple access technology. It's good for most of the suppliers. I mean, let's face it, coax has been around for so long. They can still continue to supply this. Fiber is the way we need to push forward. But it's a line in not just one country, but maybe the whole of Europe. That's going to be a difficult ask. I mean, let's look copper switch off. This is one of the factors that will actually push that. If there's no more copper, there's no more telephone line, you need to change something. No one's going to build new coax, so it's going to be fiber. These are the areas I see things being pushed quicker. And looking at the ESG side of this, PON fiber is a passive optical network. If you start looking at the benefits of energy usage, you don't use as much energy, it's passive. All of a sudden, you're getting more of the benefits And this is where we need to weigh up. ESG has its important role in everything. We need to try and get less energy usage is perfect. Less resource usage. That, I think, will also push this forward and force it in a direction so this fiber rollout becomes quicker and covers some more. If you look at fiber, it's not just one technology. This actually has multiple technologies hidden inside it. So if we can all of a sudden get this 100 gig, you may not use 100 gig to the home, but you can use the 100 gig outside and tap businesses into it, start moving things into it, start getting communications flow in a different way.
Yeah, it's. I think you said a very important point. We need a framework that help us. That's a really important topic, and you mentioned it a few minutes ago. We had the same situation like we have today in from my perspective, my personal perspective, in fiber optic, like we had in the coaxial network. We had LAN city, we had the proprietary development there, and everyone said, I'm the fastest way, you have the best telephony service, blah, blah, whatever. And then we decided to join the DOCSIS world, and we started with interop tests between different vendors. That helped all the vendors outside of the CMTS, of the electrical stuff, to develop the right material for the passive development. And then they built the right network infrastructure, let's say a bit passive network infrastructure. And the people with the electrical stuff, CPEs and head ends, came up and say, well, I built against the passive network my things, and it's very interoperable, so that I can use vendor A and can connect CPE equipment from vendor B or C or D or whatever. Yeah, and we had a kind of instant that helped us to make the interoperability with tests that was accepted by the entire industry. And in fiber optics, I think it's like gold digging. Everyone said, I have to be fast, and I have to explain to operators I have the best technology ever. Yeah, and when you come on the stage with the investors that that you have financial problems and you have to make a buyout of your connections in cable, it was so easy. Yeah, you could buy active customers or inactive customers, but you can with the right marketing, active customers there, and it was easy to connect people. And at the end, I think we are not doing the fiber rollout for the policymakers and not for the industry itself. We do it for our customers, for the people living in Europe, to make a better world, and that's the intention. So it's not a fight between vendor A and vendor B. The customer itself don't care about it.
No, they just want a solution. They just want a solution. But if we start looking at this, I mean, the goal to get from a hybrid network to fiber is, in my opinion, best understood as an evolution rather than a revolution. Legacy infrastructures will coexist with fiber for many years. The direction of travel is clear, we've said that. But gradually pushing fiber deeper into the network, aligning these regulatory frameworks, investing in workforce, and solving these deployment bottlenecks. the industry can then sort of push this forward. I mean, fiber first future is important, but without destabilizing networks that millions still rely on today. And this is where that evolution rather than revolution.
Absolutely. That's a point. And I think we had for ANGA.com a good preparation with your team, Anthony, on the sustainability. Yeah, I think we came to the same points we circled out here in our talk. It's important to have the right equipment at the right time in place, running there. And it's the idea that we have a circularity on this topic.
I love you're actually promoting this kind of thing.
That's optic lines to mobile services or to other services to make autonomous driving happen in Europe. I think you're a step before us in the US with autonomous driving. And on the other hand, this is an advantage for our inhabitants. It's more secure to drive by car. It's also the partly autonomous driving that I get a sign you have to brake before you hit a traffic jam or whatever.
That's where the car takes over from you. The car actually helps you to do things. But this is also what we need to do in fiber networks. We need to help people, because the fiber itself is long life, but the electronics, the CPEs, they're definitely not long life. So we have to start thinking about that side of it. And we have to start thinking future-proofing this, making sure we're getting, how do we get the industry to change? Some of the things they've been doing, we're getting there, but recovery of ONTs, recovery of CPEs, refurbishment of things, looking at life cycle of everything, because ESG is the one that's going to help us get through it. Once the fiber network is established, that's long life. There's an end-to-end connection that is long life. If we continue in that passive optical way, we're splitting out, that will continue for years, but both ends won't. So CPEs will evolve. They're going to go to new. Wi-Fi 7 is already here. Wi-Fi 8 is probably around the corner. 9, 10, 11, and 12 are going to come. But also, as we said earlier, 10 gig, 25 gig, 50 gig, 100 gig. The day where I need 100 gig in home, I can't wait. It's going to be an amazing experience to have 100 gig around. The television you're going to need to use is going to be massive. So.
One important thing you said, Anthony, and I loved it, it's the future. When you have a look, it's not only that we're building fiber optic networks, we have also the artificial intelligence building with our fiber optic networks. And we made the experience here on Wi-Fi. At home, the customer, don't hit me for it, but if your wife staying at home and saying the network is not running, she normally talks about Wi-Fi problems at home. So it's not the fiber optic network which is not running. In most cases, I have an impact on my Wi-Fi network. And when we have AI in place, then we can help our customers with proactive network maintenance, saying, hey, be careful, the routing table on your Wi-Fi router is filled up, and we need a reset right now. Then people accept it. But if you have a full routing table on your Wi-Fi router and the Wi-Fi router do nothing, then people get angry and get nervous, and they will do the wrong things. Maybe change some points in your network. Maybe change the DNS server or whatever. Why they think that is a problem. And this will be really hard to reconfigure the equipment. And therefore, I think with autonomous network operation from the expert side will be one good application which shows to the customer it's great to jump in our boat and run with us. That is a may different view from the view of policy makers. We have to bring AI in line with the new technology, and the good thing is we built a new network, and we have every chance. We have not a legacy solution and bring on top an AI solution or proactive network maintenance. We have a new network, and you can think from the beginning, from the scratch, the proactive network maintenance. And
we just have to do it right this time from the first.
Yeah.
And this is where the difficulty comes in. So if you look at how this is being influenced, it's governments that are defining sort of where fiber networks are being deployed, and then it's the market that decides how they're being built and operated. But if you look through Europe at the moment, national, regional governments set clear policies and objectives around the digital infrastructure, subsidies, coverage targets, regulatory frameworks. They're guiding us in what to do. But as you said, AI, how can AI help us? We already know some of this, just building the network. It can decide, hey, don't go down the driveway, turn left, go round the back, because it's all earth, you won't have to dig, you won't have to go through a sidewalk or a pavement. This totally changes the way of building things. AI can actually do that. It can look at a Google image and say, okay, if we go around the back, it's only woodland, there's not a problem, no roads, perfect. And this is where we need to get this way of moving quicker forward. But let's face it, AI is not going to install the fiber. AI is not going to dig the hole. AI is not going to put a connector on the end. This is also the path we need right now.
Absolutely. I think a good picture, I love it very much, was in the late 80s when we had the space shuttle. Yeah, the space shuttle, when it comes down to Earth from the orbit, it was not the pilot itself who managed the flight. It was a kind of autonomous driving.
Autopilot.
Yeah, it was a kind of autopilot to turn the space shuttle around to bring the brake and then turn again and fly with the wings down to Earth and have the touchdown. Yeah, and it worked in the 80s absolutely well, and I think that was a good learning curve for operators in fiber optics, that we use a kind of autopilot for maintaining the network and to make it more secure. More security is another one, resilient security. Yeah, if you have 100 gig per customers or 1 gig, it's enough. You cannot test all the bits inside 1 gig to protect your customer against cybersecurity attacks. Yeah, it's hard for operators to identify botnets.